Okay, hi everyone. I know lunch is fastly approaching, so I'm going to be very brief. Ella talked a little bit about funding and mentioned UKTI. My name is Pete Chapman. I'm an international trade advisor for UKTI based in Staffordshire. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do and how we can help you in terms of exporting overseas. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be startups or just planning your business, so some of this might be for the future, but hopefully it'll be a good reference for you. So that's me, ITA, International Trade Advisor. So we are the people on the ground across the UK to help businesses export. This tells you it's the government body, so it's BIS and the Foreign Office. I think Ella didn't mention import, but we specifically focus on the trade side of it, so we help companies export overseas. All across the UK, this, as you can see, is the West Midlands. I'm based in Staffordshire. My office is in Stoke-on-Trent. I work a lot out of Stafford, so very, very local. There's 8 of us in our team in Staffordshire, and as you can see from the slide, we have teams in all other parts of the West Midlands. So the key to all of this is, if you're interested in export, then just get to know your local ITA, whoever that may be. I think Ella also mentioned in terms of how specialist we are generalists, so I will work, for example, with companies across all different sectors. You know, manufacturers, you know, you name it. I even work with a company that fights off pirates in Africa. However, I do tend to specialize more with digital and creative media. My background is the music industry. I know film pretty well. So again, depending on your region, who you speak to, they might not be a games expert, but they can certainly help you in terms of developing your exports. Now, as well as having local people, we have people all over the world. So as you can see from this, in over 100 markets all over the world, we have UKTI staff that are there to help UK business in that particular market. Previously, I lived and worked in Tokyo, in Japan, in the music industry and retail. And I spent 18 months working for UKTI at the British Embassy in Tokyo. So there's a whole team there. And again, there's a creative and media section there to help people. So that's one of the beauties of UKTI. You've got your local staff here that can help you in day-to-day stuff. But then if you're focusing on a specific market overseas, we do have the staff there. And it'll be people like me that can put you in touch with those people overseas. So what do we do? I've broken it very simply down into the 3 things here. We look to give a bit of advice, support and strategy about exporting products or services. So when it comes to games, you know, we can sit down with you, talk about what you're doing, and help you put a bit of a strategy around looking at international markets. There's a certain amount of training and development available. We have master classes. Now those master classes are generally quite, you know, topics. A lot of it will not be relevant to you guys because it could be about, you know, sending physical goods overseas. But we do stuff about IP, about marketing. So there's lots of different training courses that there are available. And financial support, again, Ella mentioned in terms of public finance, there is finances available. This particular financial year, it's not great. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, there has been some cuts. But generally, there is some funding there to help implement some of the strategy that we can discuss with you. Some of that is to help you exhibit at some of the expos overseas, and I'll come on to that in a minute. So they're the 3 main areas where someone like myself would work with a local business to see how we can help them. I'm not going to go through all of this because of time and you're all hungry, but this is just a list of the various different services that are available. And there's more than that. So there's an awful lot out there. Not all of it will be relevant to games companies, but some of it will. The key to it is getting to know someone like myself, your local ITA, who can sit down with you, have some discussions, and then find out which services from this list will be potentially applicable to you. One of them, passport to export, you can see the 3rd one down. That's like the flagship service where we'll work with a company for 12 months, help you put an action plan together, put you on a couple of day courses to really talk about exporting, what's involved, what the challenges are, to explain a little bit more about what UKTI can do and what some of the other services are there to help you. And there's a little bit of money there to then help you implement some of those action points. So that's obviously once you've got your business up and running and you're looking to international markets. There's others in there. There's export communications review. We can get a specialist in to look at your website to really make sure that is focused on international markets. Lots of events and seminars, lots of trade missions, meet the buyers, etc. There's one called Trade Access Program, or TAP for short. We have lots of acronyms in UKTI. And this is the one where we can help get a little bit of money back off taking a stand at one of these international exhibitions. I'll come on to that in a bit. So again, a long list there, but again, the key is just to get to know one of us. One thing I would advise is just to go onto the website. It's on .gov, so UKTI. If you just Google UKTI.gov, it'll come up. You can actually set up your own alerts. So you can go in, if you're interested in a certain market, a certain country, you can go in and say you're interested in the creative section. I think you can even go down to say you're interested in games. And then any business opportunity that might come up or any information about an event or a trade mission will then just come into your inbox on a weekly or monthly basis, however you set it up. So it's worthwhile just setting up your profile on the UKTI website just to get an idea of what things are going on, what kind of business opportunities come up. And that's just a screenshot, creative industry sector opportunities. For example, there's a thing on there for free promotion for technology companies in Japan. So I would advise you, if you don't know anything about UKTI, check out the website and set up your alerts. Another thing to do, we have a separate portal called Horizon. And this will just list up all the different events in the UK and overseas that UKTI are involved in. So again, you can just go into the creative sector, and it'll just bring up all these different events that you might be interested in. Some of them are local, as I say, some of them are overseas. Right, this looks a bit boring, but this is quite important. This is the list of international shows that we can help you with funding. Now, Ella mentioned earlier, you've got Ukie and Tiger, who are the two trade associations in the games industry. Now, UKTI in London will sit down with all the trade associations across all the different sectors and will highlight the international shows that UKTI will then give funding to help UK companies go over to exhibit there. It's a huge list, and you can get that on the UKTI website. But just to give you an idea, Gamescom is one. That's obviously happened this year in Germany. So for this year, that was on the list. So you could come to someone like myself, talk to Ukie about having a small grant to help you exhibit at one of these shows when you're ready. South by Southwest, this isn't specific for games. I went to that in March. But if you're into kind of wider digital interactive companies, that's an amazing place to go to. GDC, obviously a huge one. Most of you will know about this. This is in San Francisco in March. Now, we've had some budget cuts, but there is hopefully going to be some money available. So if you've got a game ready or you've got a business and you want to go over there to network and take a small stand, then talk to Ukie, talk to someone like myself, and we can see if we can get some funding for you. Not a huge amount available, but it is there. So again, come and talk to us. I think if it's in the US, it could be between £1,000 and £2,000 off the cost of having a stand over there. So, you know, hopefully it'll make the difference to companies doing that and not being able to do it. We also do some trade missions. We've got one, everything is branded great at the moment, so we've got one going over to Mexico. That is very much focused around creative industries, not specifically for games, but there's a big music element, film as well. There's another one going to Japan. So that's just to give you a bit of a flavour of some of the overseas exhibitions that UKTI work with the local trade associations to help with creative companies. I mean, I should have said at the start, I mean, a lot of people I talk to in business thinks that if it's not a physical product that you can't put in a box and ship it overseas, then it's not an export. No, that's not the case. We work with a lot of kind of, you know, creative companies, a lot of digital media companies to help them export their services. Okay, So what support is out there? Ella's gone through a great list of different types of support and funding. I've just put a few other things on here that are maybe a little bit more local to Staffordshire. The first one, the Games Funding Forum, this actually is happening tomorrow. This is in London, but again, I just put it on there because it's just an idea of the kind of events that are happening. And that would be, I'm guessing, very similar to what Ella has just gone through with you in terms of what funding is available. I'm not sure if that's going to be streamed or anything, but you might want to check that out. A good local one you may know about this is the Factory Programme, which is run by Stoke-on-Trent City Council. They have a great programme called Factory that can help creative companies in terms of advice and support. And I believe they do have a little bit of funding as well to help companies. They do some fantastic stuff, again, not just specifically for games, for the wider creative industries, but it's certainly worth checking that out. The Staffordshire BIC, this is, again, going back to Ella mentioned about some of these grants, like the TSB, etc. Matched funding, so quite often you'll have to find half yourself, if not more. But again, it's worth going on that website. They're local, they're very helpful, very experienced. And depending on what you're doing, they might be able to help try and find the right grants that can help support you. Chambers of Commerce, I work for UKTI, but UKTI outsource what we do generally to the Chambers of Commerce. So I work at Stoke-on-Trent and also here in Stafford. It sounds a bit stuffy, but the Chamber of Commerce, they do have an awful lot of support in there in terms of to help businesses, whether you want to set up or whether it's HR support, whether it's networking. And within the Chamber of Commerce, we have things like Finest and Future Finest, which is looking at more kind of younger entrepreneurs, etc. So it is well worth considering the Chamber of Commerce. One thing that they do at the Chamber is we have a mentoring program. So, for example, you can have, I think it's up to 15 hours of mentoring completely free of charge. And I think we've got over 80 mentors there that are very business savvy, very experienced, and we can, at the Chamber, we can try to identify the right mentor for what you're doing to get you some mentoring free of charge. So I do have some flyers. If anyone's interested, come and see me. I'll be happy to give you a flyer about that. And if you're not in this area, if you've come from other areas, I'm sure there'll be similar things in the Chambers of Commerce there as well. I put Business Helpline, the Business Hub. There's a phone number on there. If you can, make a note of it. There's a guy in this area in Staffordshire, a guy called Steve Smith, that runs that helpline. But anything in terms of business support, if you're looking for some funding or for some advice, he's very good at having a really good knowledge of what is out there, because it is a minefield. There's so much support, but you can spend a lot of time trying to find what's going to work for you. This guy is quite good, so it is worth making a note of that number, or just give me a shout, and he can maybe signpost you and save you a little bit of time looking for different bits of support. And I think that's just the website you can have a look at. Okay, right, it's 1 o'clock. So final slide in terms of a bit of a summary and next steps. So international game events, as I mentioned earlier, working with colleagues at Ukie. If you're interested, I mean, obviously you've got to have a game ready, you've got to have a business set up, but if the time is right, as I say, come and talk to us, talk to Ukie, because they're great ways to get overseas, to exhibit what you're doing, and to be able to network and meet with investors or other like-minded people. Trade missions is the same thing. As I say, we ran a trade mission to South by Southwest. We do a lot of events here. There's actually one called Export Week, which is happening on the 12th of November in Birmingham. Now, going back to the slide earlier, so we've got all those trade officers all over the world. This is where we bring them into Birmingham for one day on the 12th of November. It's called Explore Export. And I can't remember, I think we've got about more than 50 trade officers from all over the world coming in. We've got a guy coming from UKTI in San Francisco, a guy called Frank William, and he looks after the creative sector in that market. You can actually book a one-on-one with Frank. So if you're interested, come and see myself, and I've got some flyers for that as well. But again, just by talking to people, and they've got the local knowledge of all the investors and all the people that you need to know in that kind of market. So I would maybe have a look at that. Other things, in Japan, I've noticed recently they've done a really good webinar just about the games industry in Japan, which you can log on to and see that for free. So again, just some really good advice there. And the final thing to say is, there's a lot of stuff that we can help with, but it's all about, I suppose, just building that relationship. So, as I say, myself and my colleagues, come and talk to us, and then we can just help you, identify which of the UKTI services could well be best suited to you. I've worked with I'm more of the music industry and film, but I've worked with a couple of games companies. And even if it's just to have a chat and just stay in touch, and then maybe in 18 months or a year or whenever you're ready to do something, then at least we've got that relationship. Right, that's it. Have we got any time for questions? Or yeah, anyone got any questions? Or no? Okay, I think everybody wants their lunch, don't they? Okay, thank you.